The early morning sun shone brightly as a set of luxury cars pulled up to the airport. It was the kind of sight that always made people pause. Drivers in black suits stepped out quickly. Doors opened one after the other. The cars were clean, expensive, and quiet like they belonged to important people. Inside the largest car sat a woman in her early 40s, with soft eyes and a gentle face. Her name was Madame Rosaline. She was not loud. She was not flashy, but everything about the convoy showed that she did not live a small life. Madame Rosaline was a billionaire. She had moved back from the United States just a year ago, after her husband passed away. The loss had changed her. She had tried to stay in the US after the burial, but the house felt too empty, the silence felt too heavy, and she did not want to live alone without her husband, because in truth, they had been each other's rock. So she returned home. Nigeria was not perfect, but it felt warmer. It felt like people could sit with you in grief without forcing you to pretend you were fine. Their daughter, Emily, had been born abroad and she had spent most of her life there too. But Madame Rosaline wanted something different now. She wanted her daughter to know her roots. She wanted her to complete her education at home and understand where she truly came from. That was why she was standing at the airport that morning waiting with her convoy. Madame Rosaline looked out through the tinted window, checking the arrival area again. Then she saw her. A teenage girl walked out of the airport with a small suitcase rolling behind her. She wore simple jeans and a plain t-shirt. Her braided hair was neatly tied back. She carried a small backpack as if she didn't want to stress anybody. Emily Daniels. Madame Rosaline's face softened immediately. She opened the door and stepped out before the driver could even help her. "Emily," she called, and her voice sounded like relief. Emily looked up and smiled. "Mum." They hugged for a long moment. Not the fake kind, the real kind that shows you missed someone. "You're so thin," her mother said, as she pulled back to look at her properly. "Have you been eating at all?" Emily gave a small laugh. "I've been eating, Mum. Just school food?" "School food," her mother repeated, rolling her eyes like she already knew the story. The driver collected Emily's suitcase and put it in the car. Emily sat in the back with her mother, and the cars began to move. As they drove out of the airport, Emily looked around Lagos like she was seeing it with new eyes. Everything felt louder than she remembered. More cars, more people, more noise. Madame Rosaline watched her quietly. "You're home now," she said softly. "No more struggling alone." Emily nodded. "I'm happy to be back." Madame Rosaline smiled. "Good, because you're starting at Gracefield College this term." Emily's expression didn't change much, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "Gracefield?" she asked. "Yes," her mother said. "It's one of the best schools in the city. Your father insisted." Emily looked out of the window again. She had heard of Gracefield College even while she was abroad. A school for rich kids. A school where everyone tried to outshine the next person. A school where people could judge you just by your shoes. Emily was not excited about that kind of life. She was quiet for a while, then she turned to her mother. "Mum, I don't want to go there with a convoy." Her mother blinked. "What?" "I don't want to enter like I'm some celebrity," Emily said calmly. "I want to dress simply. I want to move simply." Madame Rosaline stared at her surprised. "Emily, Gracefield students don't move simply." Emily shrugged lightly. "I will." Her mother sighed, then smiled like she didn't know whether to worry or admire her. "You've always been like this," she said. "Even as a child, you hated attention." Emily didn't answer. She just smiled faintly. That night after dinner, Emily went to her room and opened her wardrobe. Inside were new clothes, expensive clothes. But she passed them. She picked a simple shirt and skirt instead. Then she looked at the bicycle that had been brought into the compound earlier that day. She had asked for it herself, because she had already decided something in her heart. At Gracefield, she would not try to impress anyone. She would just live her life quietly. The next morning, the gates of Gracefield College opened wide. Luxury cars rolled into the compound one after the other. Students stepped out looking like they were going to a fashion show, not school. Some girls carried designer bags. Some boys wore shiny wristwatches. Everybody looked like money. Then from the side road, a girl rode in slowly on a bicycle. Emily. She parked near the gate and locked it. She adjusted her bag on her shoulder and walked in calmly, like she didn't notice the stairs. But people noticed her. "How can someone ride a bicycle to Gracefield?" a girl whispered, wrinkling her nose. "She must be poor," another boy said, laughing softly. Emily heard them. But she didn't stop. She didn't rush. She just walked straight into the school building. Inside, the floor was so shiny you could almost see your reflection. The hallways smelled like perfume and air conditioning. Emily stood by the class list, found her name, and turned to go. That was when she noticed the eyes. Some were curious. Some were rude. Some were already judging her. And at the top of the staircase, a girl stood with two friends, watching her like she had been waiting for someone like her to arrive. Her uniform looked too perfect. Her earrings sparkled. Her expression carried confidence like she owned the school. Her name was Sophia Obi. And the moment Sophia saw Emily's bicycle outside, she smiled. Not because she liked her, but because she had already found her next target. Sophia did not speak right away. She stood at the top of the staircase with her two friends, watching Emily like she was something strange that had wandered into the wrong place. Then she laughed. It was not a loud laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made her friends laugh too, even when nothing was funny. One of the girls beside her leaned forward and looked outside. "Is that her bicycle?" she asked. Sophia's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes, that's her bicycle." The other girl scoffed. "At Gracefield? Seriously?" Sophia shook her head slowly. "Some people are very bold. I almost admire it." They started walking down the stairs, still staring at Emily as if she were the day's entertainment. Emily was already heading toward her classroom when she heard footsteps behind her. Then a voice. "Hey!" Emily stopped and turned. Sophia stood in front of her now, with her friends behind her, like guards. Sophia's uniform looked perfect, like it had been tailored just for her. Her skirt sat neatly. Her shirt was crisp. Even the way she held her bag looked expensive. Emily looked at her calmly. "Yes?" she asked. Sophia smiled, her eyes cold. "So you really rode a bicycle to Gracefield College?" Emily nodded. "Yes, I did." One of Sophia's friends laughed. "This is not a public school." The other one added, "Maybe she thinks anyone can just walk in here." Sophia tilted her head. "Or maybe she is one of those scholarship students." She said it loudly like she wanted people around to hear. And it worked. A few students walking past slowed down. Some turned to look. Some whispered, "Scholarship. She looks like it." Sophia's friend folded her arms. "That is the only explanation, because no one comes to Gracefield on a bicycle unless they have no choice." Emily's eyes moved slowly from face to face. She did not look angry. She did not look ashamed. She did not try to explain herself. She simply stood there, calm. Sophia stepped closer. "What is your name?" Emily replied quietly. "Emily Daniels." Sophia repeated it because it sounded funny. "Emily Daniels." Then she smiled again. "Well, Emily Daniels, welcome to Gracefield. Try not to embarrass yourself." The students nearby laughed softly. Emily held Sophia's gaze and spoke in the same calm voice. "Good morning, Sophia." Sophia blinked. "Excuse me?" "I said good morning. That is simple courtesy," Emily repeated, polite and steady. It was so simple, and yet it made Sophia pause. Because Emily was not begging, she was not shaking, she was not trying to impress anyone. She was just greeting her like a normal person. Sophia's smile tightened. She turned sharply and walked away with her friends, acting like she did not care. But she cared. And she hated that she cared. In class, Emily sat quietly near the back. Students were already in their groups. Some were comparing phones, some were laughing loudly, some were talking about weekend trips as if that was normal life. Emily opened her notebook and wrote her name on the first page. She felt eyes on her again. Not friendly eyes, judging eyes. She heard whispers. She is the bicycle girl. She looks poor. I heard she is on scholarship. Emily kept writing, but something in her chest felt heavy. Not because she believed them, but because she knew they would not stop quickly. A few minutes later, someone slid into the seat beside her. Emily looked up. It was a girl with large glasses, a tight ponytail, and a serious face. Her uniform was neat but plain. She held her books close to her chest like she was trying to protect herself from the world. "Hi," the girl said softly. "I'm Zara." Emily blinked, surprised. "Hi." Zara hesitated, then spoke again. "I saw what happened outside. Please don't let it get to you." Emily gave a small smile. "Thank you." Zara looked around quickly, then lowered her voice. "Sophia does this to people, especially people she thinks are below her." Emily nodded slowly. "I can see that." Zara swallowed. "If you want, you can sit with me during lunch. I don't really have friends either." Emily looked at her properly now. Zara sounded nervous, but she was trying. And for the first time since she entered Gracefield, Emily felt something warm. Not excitement, just relief. "I'd like that," Emily said gently. Zara's face brightened. "Okay." Later that day, during break time, Emily walked out of class with Zara. They had barely stepped into the corridor when Sophia's voice rang out again. "Scholarship girl!" Students turned immediately. Sophia stood on the balcony above them with her friends, leaning on the railing like she owned the school. "Make sure you did not forget your bicycle key," Sophia called out loudly, "because if it gets stolen, I'm sure your sponsor will not buy another one." Laughter burst out around them. Zara froze and lowered her head, as if she wanted to disappear. Emily stopped walking. Slowly she looked up at Sophia. Sophia was smiling proudly, enjoying the attention. Emily took a breath and spoke, calm but clear. "I didn't know a bicycle could upset people this much," she said. A few students went quiet. Sophia's smile shifted slightly. Emily continued, still calm. "But thank you for your concern. I'll be fine." Then she turned and walked away with Zara, as if nothing had happened. For a moment, the corridor stayed strangely quiet, not because Sophia had won, but because everyone had seen something they did not expect. Emily had not cried. She had not shouted. She had not begged. She had simply stood there and stayed calm. And for some reason, that bothered Sophia more than any insult ever could. Emily and Zara walked away from the corridor like nothing had happened. But something had happened. The laughter behind them had been loud, yet the silence that followed Emily's calm reply had been louder. Zara kept her eyes down as they walked. "I'm sorry," Zara whispered, as if she were the one being insulted. Emily glanced at her. "You don't have to be sorry." Zara swallowed. "Sophia, she can make school feel like a war zone." Emily gave a small, tired smile. "Then I'll just learn how to survive it." Zara looked at her like she did not understand how someone could stay that calm. Because to Zara, Gracefield was not just a school. It was a place where people decided your worth before you even opened your mouth. Sophia Obi, on the other hand, was enjoying herself. She walked through the school as if she owned it. Her uniform always looked new. Her shoes always looked polished. Her hair was always neat, and her perfume always arrived before she did. Most girls wanted to be like her. Most boys wanted to be around her. And the ones who did not like her still feared her. Sophia had built that life carefully. For 2 years, she had been creating an image, not by accident, not by luck, by planning, by lying, by making sure people only saw what she wanted them to see. She made it sound natural when she talked about money. "My dad is always traveling. We just flew in from abroad last month. My driver is tired because we came back late from Abuja." She dropped these lines casually, like it was normal life. And people believed her. They believed her because she dressed like money. She spoke like money. and she carried herself like someone who had never been told no in her life. So in Gracefield, everyone called her the billionaire's daughter. No one asked questions. No one wanted to be the person who found out she was wrong. But the truth was very different. Sophia's mother, Mrs. Obi, worked as a housekeeper at one of Madame Rosalaine's estates. That was how Sophia even got into Gracefield in the first place. Her mother had begged for help. She had cried. She had promised to work harder, and Madame Rosaline had finally helped her. Sophia did not like to remember that part. She preferred her own version, the richer version. The version where she was born above everyone. And now, a new girl had arrived. A girl on a bicycle. A girl with a quiet face. A girl who looked too pretty for someone Sophia could easily dismiss. Emily's beauty was not the loud kind. It was soft, clean skin, calm eyes, a kind smile that made people feel safe. And sometimes when Emily spoke, a slight American accent slipped out without her trying. To Sophia, it sounded like pretending. Like someone trying to look special. Like someone trying to get attention. And Sophia did not share attention. Not in her school. Not in her world. So from that first morning, Sophia saw Emily as a threat. Even if Emily did not know it yet. By lunch break, Zara kept her promise. She led Emily to a quiet corner of the cafeteria, away from the loud tables where the popular students sat. Zara opened her lunchbox slowly. Emily sat across from her, unwrapping the food her mother had packed. The cafeteria was noisy. Plates clanged. Students laughed. Someone screamed over a joke at the other end. Zara ate quietly, like she didn't want to take up space. Emily ate quietly too, but she could feel eyes on her. Not everyone. Just enough. Then she noticed Sophia. Sophia was at the center table, of course, surrounded by girls who laughed too hard at her jokes. Boys stood near her table like they had no reason to leave. Sophia sat like a queen on a throne, talking and smiling and enjoying the way heads kept turning toward her. Then her eyes landed on Emily, and Sophia's smile changed. It became sharper. Her friend leaned in. "She's the bicycle girl." Sophia's eyes narrowed. "I know." Another girl giggled. "Scholarship girl is forming calm." Sophia leaned back in her chair. "Let her form. We will see." Emily was just about to take another bite when someone's shadow fell over their table. Zara stiffened immediately. Emily looked up. A boy was standing there. Tall, clean, handsome in a way that made people notice without effort. His uniform was neat, his hair was low-cut and tidy, and his smile was calm and confident. Zara's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Everyone knew him. Alex O'Connor, one of the most popular boys in school. Rich, well-liked, and almost always surrounded by friends. But right now he was standing alone, looking at Emily. "Hi," he said. "Is this seat taken?" Zara blinked fast, like she was trying to wake up. Emily looked at him calmly. "No, you can sit." Alex smiled and sat down like it was the most normal thing in the world. Zara's hands trembled slightly as she held her spoon. Alex looked at Emily again. "You're new." Emily nodded. "Yes." "I'm Alex," he said. "I just wanted to say, I saw what happened earlier. You handled it well." Emily paused for a moment. "Thank you." Alex leaned forward slightly. "Sophia can be a lot. Don't let her get into your head." Emily gave a small smile. "I won't." Alex smiled back. "Good. And if you don't mind, I'd like to be your friend." Zara almost choked. Emily blinked, surprised, but her expression stayed calm. "That's kind," she said. "Sure." Alex nodded like he was satisfied. "Great." Across the cafeteria, Sophia was watching. At first, she thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. Alex? At Emily's table? Sitting with the bicycle girl? Sophia's fingers tightened around her fork. Her friends noticed immediately. "Is that Alex?" one of them whispered. Sophia did not answer. Her jaw clenched. because Sophia had been trying for months to get Alex's attention. She had laughed at his jokes. She had accidentally bumped into him in the hallway. She had even pretended to like what he liked. And Alex had always been polite, but distant. Never rude. Never interested. Now, in one day, this new girl had arrived, and Alex was sitting with her A's she mattered. Sophia's chest burned, not just with jealousy, but with humiliation. She stood up sharply. Her chair scraped the floor loud enough to draw attention. Her friends followed her eyes to Emily's table again. Sophia forced a smile. A fake one. The kind that looked sweet but meant trouble. Okay, she said softly to herself. If she wants attention, Sophia picked up her bag. Then I will give her attention. And as she walked out of the cafeteria, her mind was already forming a plan. A real one. Not just insults. Not just jokes. Something that would make the whole school laugh at Emily for real. Something that would remind everyone who the real Queen of Gracefield was. Sophia walked out of the cafeteria with that sweet-looking smile still on her face. But inside, she was burning. She could still see it clearly. Alex sitting with Emily like it was normal. Like Emily belonged. Like Emily mattered. Sophia hated that feeling. And she knew something about Gracefield. If you wanted to destroy someone, you didn't always need to do it with your own hands. You only needed the right people. By the end of that day, Sophia had already pulled her closest girls together. Vanessa, Ruth, and 2 others who followed her around like shadows. Vanessa was the loudest of them all, pretty, bold, and always ready to perform for attention. She loved drama the way some people loved music. Sophia didn't even need to beg her. She just said, "That new girl is getting too comfortable." Vanessa smiled as she understood immediately. Leave her to me. 2 days later, Emily was standing at her locker after school when a voice called her name. Emily. She turned and saw Sophia walking toward her with a bright smile. Sophia's smile was the kind that looked friendly if you didn't know better. Emily had seen Sophia already, always surrounded, always loud, always acting as if the school belonged to her. Hi, Emily said politely. Sophia leaned against the locker beside her, acting relaxed. I've been meaning to talk to you, she said. Emily blinked. Okay. Sophia smiled wider. I feel like people have been unfair to you. Emily didn't answer quickly. She just watched Sophia's face. Sophia continued. Honestly, I don't even know why some people are so pressed. You've been minding your business. Emily gave a small nod. I try to. Sophia laughed softly, as if they were already friends. Good. I like that. Then she lowered her voice a little. My friends and I are having a small beach hangout this weekend, she said. Nothing serious, just music, food, pictures. You know. Emily hesitated. Sophia quickly added, and before you say no, Alex is coming too. Emily's eyes flickered slightly at the mention of Alex. Sophia caught it and smiled. You should come, she said gently. It'll be nice. And it might help people stop seeing you as, you know, that bicycle girl. Emily didn't like that sentence, but Sophia said it like she was trying to help. And Emily was tired of being alone. She thought of Zara, who always looked like she was about to cry whenever Sophia shouted. She thought of Alex, who had sat with her without acting ashamed. So Emily nodded slowly. Okay, she said, I'll come. Sophia clapped lightly. Perfect. I'll send you the details. Then she walked away, smiling. And from the corner of the hallway, Vanessa watched it all with quiet satisfaction. The beach party was louder than Emily expected. Music was playing, people were laughing, phones were everywhere, some students were already taking pictures like it was a photo shoot. Emily arrived in a simple dress and slippers, her hair neatly packed back. She looked clean and calm, but she still felt out of place. Vanessa rushed to her immediately like they were best friends. Emily! You made it! She shouted over the music. Emily smiled politely. Yes. Vanessa held her wrist. Come, let me show you the changing tent. Some people are changing into beachwear. Emily blinked. Changing? Vanessa nodded. Yes, just to feel more comfortable. Don't worry, it's private. Emily followed her. The tent was a small one, tucked behind a beach umbrella. Vanessa pushed the flap open. Go in, she said. I'll stand outside. Emily hesitated for half a second, then stepped in. Inside, it was warm and cramped. She quickly pulled off her dress and wrapped a towel around her body. She was still adjusting it when she heard Vanessa's voice outside. Now! Emily froze. The tent flap flew open. For a split second, she thought it was a mistake. Then she saw it. 2 men with cameras. And behind them, students holding phones, laughing. Flash. 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 Emily grabbed the towel tightly to her chest, her heart pounding as she tried to close the tent flap, but hands pushed it open again. Someone laughed loudly. Someone shouted, "Scholarship girl is trending today." Emily's face burned with shame. Her eyes filled with tears instantly, not because she was weak, but because she could not believe human beings could be this cruel and still laugh. Vanessa stood nearby with a shocked face, acting like she didn't know what was happening. "Stop! Stop!" she shouted, pretending. But her eyes were not shocked. They were amused. Emily pushed her way out of the tent, trembling, and ran. She didn't even know where she was running to. She just wanted to disappear. That night, the photos were everywhere. On WhatsApp, on Instagram, on school group chats. People added captions. People made jokes. People laughed like it was a movie scene. By morning, Emily's name was no longer Emily. It was Towel Girl. It was Scholarship Princess. It was worse than the bicycle insults, because this one felt like they had stripped something from her. Her privacy, her dignity, her peace. Emily stayed in her room and refused to come downstairs. She ignored Zara's messages. She ignored Alex's calls. She lay on her bed staring at the ceiling, feeling like the walls were closing in. When her mother finally came into the room, she found Emily sitting with her knees to her chest, silent tears rolling down her face. Madame Rosaline's heart clenched. "My baby," she said softly, sitting beside her. Emily tried to speak, but her voice broke. "Mum, I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't." Madame Rosaline pulled her into her arms. Emily cried harder then, the way someone cries when they have been holding everything in for too long. "They hate me for no reason," Emily said through tears. "I don't even fight them. I don't even disturb anybody." Madame Rosaline stroked her hair gently. "Some people hate quiet strength," she said, "because it reminds them of what they don't have." Emily sniffed. "I want to leave that school." Madame Rosaline didn't answer immediately. She sighed softly, like she had been waiting for this moment. Then she said, "Emily, there is someone you need to see." Emily wiped her face slowly. "Who?" Madame Rosaline looked at her with a careful expression. "Your grandmother." Emily blinked. "My grandmother?" "Yes," Madame Rosaline said quietly. "My mother-in-law." Emily sat up a bit, confused. "But, Mum, I've never met her. I don't even know any of Dad's family." "I know," Madame Rosaline said gently. "That was not how I wanted it to be. But life happened fast, and after your father died, things changed." Emily's heart beat harder. "Why now?" she asked, her voice small. Madame Rosaline held her hand. "Because you're going through something bigger than school bullying," she said. "And I can't carry it alone anymore. You need to know where you come from." Emily stared at her mother like she didn't understand. Madame Rosaline's eyes softened. "Just come with me tomorrow," she said. "Please." Emily didn't know why, but something in her mother's voice made her feel nervous. Still, she nodded. "Okay." The next day, they drove into a part of Lagos Emily had never been to. The roads were smoother, the fences were taller, the trees looked carefully planted like they were part of the design. When the car finally stopped, Emily looked out the window and her mouth went slightly open. A mansion stood in front of them. Not a normal rich house. A mansion that looked like it belonged to history. There were guards at the gate, men in uniform, cameras, silence. The gate opened slowly and the car drove in. Emily's heart was beating fast now. "Mum," she whispered. Where are we? Madame Rosaline took a breath. Just follow me. They entered the house. The inside was quiet and grand. Marble floors, tall ceilings, portraits on the walls, old serious faces looking down like they were watching everything. Then an elderly woman appeared at the far end of the hall. She was tall, even in old age. Her wrapper was simple but expensive. Her head was held high and her eyes were sharp and calm. Two women walked behind her like assistants. Madame Rosaline stepped forward respectfully. "Good afternoon, Your Majesty." Emily froze. "Your Majesty?" The elderly woman's eyes moved to Emily. And for the first time, Emily felt something she could not explain. Like she was standing in front of someone who had power without shouting. The woman walked closer slowly and stopped in front of Emily. She studied Emily's face like she was searching for something. Then she spoke. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight. "You look like your father." Emily's throat tightened. "My father?" she whispered. The woman nodded once. Then she turned slightly as if making a statement to the room. "This is my granddaughter," she said. "Princess Emily of Arens." Emily's whole body went still. "Princess?" She looked at her mother sharply. Madame Rosaline's eyes were wet. Emily's voice shook. "Mum, what is she saying?" The elderly woman's gaze stayed steady on Emily. "Your late father," she said, "was the crown prince of the prosperous kingdom of Arinze." Emily felt like the air had left the room. The woman continued, calm and firm. "I am the queen mother of Arinze." Emily's lips parted, but no words came out. The queen mother took one more step closer. "You are the only surviving heir," she said, "and you are next in line to the royal crown." Emily's knees felt weak. She stared between her mother and this woman she had never met. Her mind was spinning. She had barely accepted being the daughter of a billionaire. Now she was being told she was royalty too. And suddenly, Gracefield College felt small. Those insults, those photos, that humiliation. It was still painful. But now something else was rising in Emily's chest. Shock, fear, and a question she could not stop thinking. What exactly was her life really about to become? She could not move. For a moment, she could not even breathe properly. Princess, crown, Arins. The words sounded like something from a movie, not something that could sit inside her real life. Her eyes moved slowly to her mother. Madame Rosaline's face was calm, but her eyes were wet, like she had been carrying this truth for too long. Emily's voice came out small. "Mum, what is this?" Madame Rosaline reached for her hand. "Emily." But Emily pulled her hand back, not out of anger, but because she felt overwhelmed. She turned back to the elderly woman. "The Queen Mother." Emily stared at her, searching her face for any sign that this was a joke, or a misunderstanding, or some strange mistake. But the woman's expression did not change. She looked calm, certain, like she had never doubted this moment would come. Emily swallowed hard. "No," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry, but no." The Queen Mother's eyes stayed on her. "No?" Emily nodded quickly, as if saying it faster would make it more real. "I can't do this," she said. "I didn't grow up here. I don't even know you. I don't know this kingdom. I'm not a princess." The Queen Mother watched her quietly, then asked, "And what do you want to be?" Emily's chest rose and fell. "I want to finish school," she said. "I want to live normally. I want a quiet life." The Queen Mother's face softened slightly, but her voice stayed firm. "You think normal life is something people choose and keep forever?" Emily's eyes filled again, this time with frustration. "I just want to be a teenager," she said. "I'm already struggling in school. People are humiliating me. I'm tired. And now you're telling me I have to carry a whole crown?" Madame Rosaline stepped closer gently. "Emily, please." Emily shook her head. "I'm not doing it," she repeated. "I'm not going to Arens. I'm not wearing any crown. I'm not becoming some symbol. I want to go back to my life." The Queen Mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned slightly, walking toward the tall window that overlooked the estate. Her hands rested behind her back. She spoke without turning. "Your father said you would say this." Emily froze. The Queen Mother finally turned to face her again. "He was like you," she said. "He wanted a quiet life too, but duty came for him." Emily's throat tightened at the mention of her father. The Queen Mother walked back toward her slowly. "I will not force you," she said. "But you cannot pretend this truth does not exist." Emily's voice broke. "Then what do you want from me?" The Queen Mother studied her for a moment, then said, "A deal." Emily blinked. "A deal?" "You will continue school at Gracefield," the Queen Mother said. "You will live your life as you want for now. But in secret, you will begin training." "Training?" Emily repeated, confused. Madame Rosaline spoke softly. "Princess training." Emily's eyes widened again. "No." The Queen Mother lifted a hand gently. "Listen to me," she said. "You will not be paraded. You will not be announced. No one will know. Not your classmates, not your teachers, not even your friends." Emily's heart was still racing. The Queen Mother continued, calm and clear. "You will learn how to carry yourself, how to speak, how to stand, how to lead. You will learn your history. You will learn the responsibilities waiting for you." Emily shook her head slowly. "But why?" The Queen Mother's gaze sharpened. "Because whether you accept it or not, the world will eventually demand something from you. And when that time comes, you will either be ready or you will be crushed." Emily's lips parted, but no words came. Then the Queen Mother added, "At the Unity Coronation Ball, you will decide." Emily frowned. "Unity Coronation Ball?" The Queen Mother nodded. "A major royal event. Your introduction can happen there, if you choose, or you can renounce the path publicly and walk away." Emily's stomach twisted. "Publicly?" The Queen Mother's voice remained steady. "You will decide your future at that ball." Madame Rosaline stepped forward, her voice pleading but gentle. "Emily, just try, please, for your father." Emily looked at her mother and saw the pain in her eyes. Not pressure. Pain. The pain of a woman who had lost her husband and still had to protect what he left behind. Emily's shoulders dropped slightly. Her voice was quiet now. "If I do this, will you stop pushing me?" The Queen Mother nodded once. "Yes, you will decide." Emily stared at the floor for a moment. Then she whispered, "Okay." The training began that same week. Not with crowns or ceremonies. With small things. Posture, walking, sitting, eye contact. Speaking without shrinking. At first, Emily felt awkward. She felt like she was pretending to be someone else. But the Queen Mother's instructors did not treat her like a princess. They treated her like a girl who needed tools. "Lift your chin," one woman would say gently, "not in pride, in confidence." "Slow down," the Queen Mother would tell her. "When you rush, you look like you are afraid." When Emily spoke, they corrected her softly. "Do not swallow your words. Do not apologize for existing." At first, Emily wanted to laugh. Then she wanted to cry. Then slowly, she began to change. Not in a loud way, in a quiet way. Her shoulders stopped bending forward. Her eyes stopped dropping to the floor. Her voice became steady, even when she was nervous. And something else happened, too. Emily had always been beautiful in a simple way. But now, she looked refined. Not because she started wearing expensive things, but because she carried herself like she understood her own worth. Even when she dressed simply, something about her stood out. A glow. A calm confidence that people noticed without understanding why. Madame Rosaline watched and felt her heart squeeze. Because she saw her husband in Emily more and more. And she knew this was only the beginning. Back at Gracefield, Emily still wore plain clothes. She still rode her bicycle. She still sat with Zara. But when she walked past people now, she didn't move like she was trying to avoid them. She moved as if she belonged anywhere she stood. And students began to notice. They whispered differently now. "She looks different." She's glowing. She's not even trying, but she stands out. Even Alex noticed. One afternoon, as Emily walked into the cafeteria, Alex stood up without thinking. His eyes followed her like he was seeing her again for the first time. Emily caught his gaze and smiled politely. Alex smiled back. And across the room, Sophia Obi watched that exchange. Her face went tight. Because Emily was not shrinking. Emily was growing. And Sophia could feel it deep inside her. If she didn't stop Emily soon, she would lose everything she had spent 2 years building. Sophia could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw it again. Emily walking through school as she belonged there, as she had never been mocked, as she had never been dragged in front of cameras. Emily was still wearing simple clothes, still riding a bicycle, but now she carried herself differently. Her back was straight. Her eyes were steady. Even her voice sounded calmer, clearer. And sometimes that small American accent slipped out in a way that made people turn their heads. Students were noticing, not the cruel way, the curious way, the admiring way. And Alex was noticing the most. Sophia's jealousy didn't feel like ordinary jealousy anymore. It felt like fear, because Sophia had spent 2 years building a fake life at Gracefield, and now Emily was walking in and taking attention without even trying. Sophia sat up in bed and whispered to herself, "I need to remind them who I am." Then her eyes sharpened. And she smiled. Not a happy smile. A dangerous one. The next morning, Sophia cornered her mother in the kitchen before she left for work. Mrs. Obi was tying her headscarf, looking tired like she hadn't rested well. "Sophia," she sighed, "I'm late." Sophia leaned on the counter. "Mummy, I need your help." Mrs. Obi's eyes narrowed. "Help with what?" Sophia lowered her voice like she was sharing something serious. "There's a party at school," she said. "A big one. Everyone is going to be there." Mrs. Obi frowned. "So?" Sophia smiled sweetly. "I want to host it." Her mother blinked. "Host it where?" Sophia hesitated for half a second, then said it. "At the estate." Mrs. Obi froze. The estate? One of Madame Rosalind's homes that Mrs. Obi sometimes cleaned. A place so big and quiet it felt like it belonged to a different world. A place that was rarely used, because Madame Rosalind didn't even need to live in all her houses. Mrs. Obi's face changed immediately. "No," she said firmly. Sophia's eyes widened like she was shocked. "Why not?" "Because it is not our house," her mother replied, voice low but serious. "And you know that." Sophia rolled her eyes, annoyed. "Mummy, nobody will know." Mrs. Obi shook her head. "Sophia, please, do not put me in trouble." Sophia stepped closer, her voice turning sharp. "Mummy, I'm begging you," she said, but it didn't sound like begging. "Do you know what I've suffered in that school to survive? Do you know what it means to be treated like you don't belong?" Mrs. Obi sighed. "Sophia." Sophia didn't let her finish. "You want me to be somebody, right?" she asked. "Then help me." Mrs. Obi looked torn. Then she whispered, almost like she was tired of fighting her own child. "Just one night," Sophia promised quickly. "One night. We'll clean up. Nobody will break anything. Nobody will even know." Mrs. Obi swallowed hard. Her fear was written all over her face. But she nodded slowly. "Just one night," she repeated, like she was praying it wouldn't ruin her life. Sophia smiled. And in her mind, she was already hearing the whispers. Sophia is really rich. She really is who she says she is. Emily is nothing. The party started that evening. And it was grand. Too grand. Music, lights, expensive drinks. Students dressed like they were going to a red carpet event. Sophia stood at the entrance of the mansion wearing a glittering dress, welcoming people as if she were a princess in her own castle. "This is my family home," she told them casually, waving her hand like the mansion was nothing. Students gasped. Vanessa's eyes were wide with admiration. "Sophia, this is insane." James laughed.
You've been hiding this level of wealth from us? Sophia smiled. I don't like to talk too much. Everyone laughed, impressed. As the crowd entered, Sophia led them around, pointing at paintings, marble floors, chandeliers, and expensive furniture like she owned every single thing.
This is my dad's favorite sitting room. This is the main lounge. This is the garden view. And people believed her, because the mansion looked like it belonged to someone important, someone untouchable, someone exactly like Sophia had been pretending to be. But then, something happened. A staff member walked into the hall. A butler. He was older, calm, and clearly confused. He looked around the crowd, the music, the students, and his eyes narrowed. Then he walked straight to Sophia. "Miss," he said politely, "may I ask who approved this gathering?" Sophia's smile stiffened. She lifted her chin. "I did." The butler blinked, still calm. "Under what authority, please?" Sophia's voice sharpened. "This is my family estate. Do not question me." Some students nearby immediately jumped in, trying to impress Sophia. "How dare you talk to her like that? Know your place. Are you not just staff?" The butler's eyes hardened slightly. He said nothing else. He simply stepped away and made a phone call. Quietly. Discreetly. Sophia didn't notice. Or maybe she did, but she was too proud to care. Emily was not at the party. She had stayed home that night. She was tired. Her training had been intense that week, and she had promised the Queen Mother she would rest. She didn't know anything was happening. Not until the phone rang. Madame Rosaline answered. Her face changed within seconds. "Where?" she asked sharply. She listened again, then stood up. "I'll be there immediately." Emily, sitting on the sofa, looked up. "Mom, what is it?" Madame Rosaline turned to her, her jaw tight. "Get your shoes," she said. "Now." Emily frowned. "Why?" Madame Rosaline's voice was calm, but dangerous. "Someone is hosting a party in one of my estates and claiming it belongs to them." Emily's heart dropped. "Mom? What?" Madame Rosaline was already moving toward the door. "Let's go." When Madame Rosaline arrived at the mansion with Emily beside her, the party was still going. Music was loud. Students were laughing. Sophia was glowing in the middle of it all. Then the front doors opened, and the atmosphere shifted. It was not dramatic at first. It was subtle. Heads turning. Musiwas was still playing, but quieter in the background because the energy had changed. Madame Rosaline walked in with calm authority, dressed simply but powerfully. Emily walked beside her, quiet as always, but composed. The butler stepped forward immediately. "Madam," he said respectfully, bowing his head, "thank you for coming." Sophia's smile froze. Her blood ran cold. The room began to murmur. Who is that? Why is the butler greeting her like that? That woman looks important. Sophia took one step backward. Then she saw Emily clearly. Emily, standing beside the woman. Sophia's voice came out shaky. "Emily?" Madame Rosaline looked around the room slowly, taking in the chaos, the students, the drinks, the music, the lies hanging in the air. Then her eyes settled on Sophia. "Good evening," Madame Rosaline said calmly. Sophia's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Madame Rosaline's voice stayed quiet, but it carried. "Who gave you permission to enter my home?" The room went silent. It wasn't just quiet. It was dead. Sophia's face drained of color. Vanessa's jaw dropped. James stared like he was seeing Sophia for the first time. Emily stood there, her expression a mixture of disappointment and something softer, almost pity. Sophia's voice broke. This is my..." Madame Rosaline cut in calmly. "This is my estate," she said, "and you are trespassing." A wave of whispers spread through the crowd. Her estate? Wait, so Sophia lied? So who is she? Sophia's knees felt weak. Her eyes darted to her mother. Mrs. Obi stood at the corner of the hall in her work uniform holding a tray. Her face was pale with fear. And then the students noticed her. The resemblance. The nervousness. The truth. Vanessa whispered loudly, "Wait, is that your mother?" Sophia snapped, "No." But it sounded weak, because everyone could see it. The same face. The same eyes. The same features. The lies began collapsing like a house of cards. A boy laughed awkwardly. "So Sophia is not rich?" A girl scoffed. "So she's been lying to us for 2 years." James stepped back slowly as if Sophia were contagious. Vanessa's face twisted in disgust. "You embarrassed us." Sophia looked around wildly. The eyes that used to admire her now looked at her like she was dirt. The silence was heavy. Then someone murmured, "And Emily? What is she doing with Madame Rosaline?" Emily did not speak, but Madame Rosaline did. She turned slightly and placed her hand on Emily's shoulder. "My daughter," she said simply. The room shook with gasps. Sophia's breath caught. Emily was Madame Rosaline's daughter? The same Emily they called the scholarship girl? Sophia's chest tightened. Her fake life was not just cracking anymore. It was breaking. Sophia turned and ran. She pushed through the crowd, tears spilling down her face, and dashed out of the mansion like she was being chased by fire. The next day at school, Sophia arrived looking like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were swollen. Her pride was broken, but her jealousy was still alive. Students whispered as she walked past. Some laughed. Some pointed. Some avoided her as if she were cursed. And Sophia could not handle it. She needed something to hold on to, something to fight with. So she did what she always did. She looked for a lie that could hurt someone else. By mid-morning, Sophia was in the principal's office with her phone in her hand. Her voice trembled as she spoke, pretending to sound concerned. "Sir," she said, "I think you need to see this." The principal frowned and took the phone. On the screen was a photo of Emily sitting with an older man. It looked suspicious. It looked like a secret meeting. Sophia swallowed, forcing tears into her eyes. "I didn't want to believe it," she said softly, "but this is not good for the school's reputation." The principal's face hardened. He stood up immediately. "Call Emily to my office." Emily walked into the office calmly, not knowing what she was walking into. The principal sat behind his desk with the phone in his hand and a stern expression. "Emily Okocha," he said coldly. "Do you want to explain this?" Emily's eyes moved to the phone. She recognized the man instantly. Her heart remained steady, because she knew the truth. "That is a man sent by my grandmother," Emily said calmly. "He was meeting me to discuss etiquette." The principal scoffed. "Etiquette." Before Emily could speak again, the door to the office opened, and the air changed immediately. 2 men in formal attire stepped in first, followed by the vice principal, looking nervous. Then a woman walked in, elegant, composed, powerful. The room stood still. The principal stood up slowly, confused. The woman's eyes landed on Emily. Then she spoke, her voice calm but commanding. "Where is my granddaughter?" The principal's mouth went dry. "Your granddaughter?" The woman turned to him. "You will address her properly," she said. "This is Princess Emily of Arinze." Emily stood quietly, her face calm, but inside she felt the world shifting again. The principal's face turned pale. The vice principal bowed his head quickly. Outside the office, students had gathered, whispering. The words spread through the hallway like fire. "Princess? Emily is royalty. The scholarship girl is the heir." Sophia, standing at the back of the crowd, heard it, and the last bit of strength in her snapped. The Queen Mother's gaze cut through the room. Then she turned to the principal. "You will not accuse my granddaughter based on foolish gossip," she said, "and you will not allow your school to be used as a playground for jealous children." The principal stammered, "Your Majesty, I—" The Queen Mother raised a hand. "Enough." She looked at Emily then, her voice softer. "Come." Emily followed her without speaking. And as they walked out, the hallway moved apart for them. Students stared like they were seeing Emily for the first time, because now it was no longer a rumor. It was not guesswork. It was real. Emily was not just a billionaire's daughter. She was the heir to a royal crown. Later that day, Sophia was summoned. Not to bully. Not to laugh. To face consequences. The school board suspended her. And as Sophia walked out of the office, her head bowed, she could feel every eye on her. The girl who called herself a queen had just been humbled most painfully. And deep inside, as shame and anger battled inside her chest, one thought rose like poison. This isn't over. Sophia's suspension did not feel like punishment. It felt like a public burial. She walked out of the school building with her head down, but she could feel the eyes on her back like hot stones. Some students laughed openly. Some whispered behind their hands. Others just stared, cold, satisfied stares, like they were enjoying the fall of someone who had once made them feel small. Sophia climbed into her mother's old car without saying a word. Mrs. Obi sat behind the wheel, her hands trembling. Sophia, she started softly. Sophia didn't even look at her. Drive, she said. Mrs. Obi drove. And the whole ride, Sophia said nothing. But inside her head, it was not quiet. It was loud. It was screaming. Emily, Emily, Emily. If Emily had not come to Gracefield, none of this would have happened. If Emily had stayed in her quiet corner and remained invisible, Sophia would still be the billionaire's daughter. Sophia's nails dug into her palm. By the time they reached their small apartment, Sophia's eyes were dry. No tears, only anger. That night, Sophia sat on her bed with her phone in her hand. Vanessa had blocked her. James had blocked her. Even the girls who used to call her queen were posting pictures online with captions like, "Fake life will always expose you." Sophia stared at her screen until her vision blurred. Then she opened her contacts and scrolled. There was one name she had not spoken to in a long time. Tari. Her old friend from before Gracefield. Before uniforms and fake accents. Before she started lying about wealth. Tari had always been rough around the edges, the kind of boy who smiled too easily and got into trouble too easily. A petty criminal, people called him. Sophia used to avoid him once she entered Gracefield because he didn't fit her new image. But tonight, she didn't care about image anymore. She just wanted revenge. She typed a message. Sophia, Tari, I need you. The reply came almost instantly. Tari, wow, Madam Rich Girl. You remember me now? Sophia's jaw tightened. Sophia, I'm serious. I need help. Big help. A pause. Then, Tari, call me. Sophia didn't hesitate. When Tari's voice came through, it sounded amused. Sophia Obi, he said, dragging her name like a joke. So what happened to your billionaire life? Sophia's stomach twisted. Shut up, she snapped. Tari chuckled. Okay, talk. Sophia inhaled sharply. There's a girl, she said. She ruined me. Tari's voice turned curious. How? She exposed me, Sophia said, her voice shaking with anger now. She made everyone see me as nothing. Tari was quiet for a beat. Who is she? Sophia's eyes narrowed like the name itself tasted bitter. Emily. Tari whistled softly. Emily who? Emily Okocha, Sophia said through clenched teeth. Billionaire's daughter, and now she's royalty too. Tari laughed, thinking it was a joke. But Sophia didn't laugh. She's the heir to a kingdom, Sophia continued, voice dead serious. And everybody is worshipping her like she's a saint. Tari's laughter slowly faded. Wait. You're serious? Sophia's voice dropped lower. I want her to feel powerless, she said. Just once. I want her to beg. I want her to know what it feels like to be dragged. Tari exhaled slowly. And what do you want me to do? Sophia's eyes were fixed on the wall. Then she said it. Kidnap her. There was silence. Then Tari laughed again, but this time it sounded nervous. Sophia, are you okay? Sophia's voice rose sharply. Don't act like you're innocent. You've done worse for less. Tari swallowed. For ransom? He asked carefully. Sophia nodded, even though he couldn't see her. Yes. Ransom. And shame. Tari's voice grew quieter. This is not a small thing. Sophia's face tightened. I'm not asking you to kill her, she snapped. Just take her, scare her, collect money and ruin her. Tari hesitated. But then Sophia added the one thing that made him go still. I'll pay you. That got his attention. How much? Sophia didn't blink. Enough. Tari's breathing changed. He was thinking now. Not about right or wrong. About opportunity. Okay, he said finally. We'll talk tomorrow. Face to face. Sophia ended the call and lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Her heart was beating fast. Not from fear. From excitement. Because for the first time since her world collapsed, she felt like she had control again. Meanwhile, at the Okocha home, Madame Rosaline was not sleeping either. Ever since the school hallway had heard the words Princess Emily of Arinze, everything had changed. The security men outside the gate had doubled. Calls had been coming in. Messages. Attention. And it scared her. Not because she was weak, but because she knew what attention could bring. Madame Rosaline sat beside Emily in her room. Emily was brushing her hair quietly, calm as usual. Madame Rosaline watched her and sighed. My daughter, she said softly. We need to be serious now. Emily glanced at her. About what? Security, Madame Rosaline said firmly. Your name is out. People know who you are now. Emily's face stayed calm, but her eyes softened. Mum, I'm fine. Madame Rosaline shook her head. No, you're not fine. This is Nigeria. People kidnap for less. Emily gave a small, stubborn smile. I don't want my life to change. Madame Rosaline's voice cracked slightly. Emily, your life has already changed. Emily looked away for a moment. Then she whispered, I just want to go to school. I just want to finish. I don't want bodyguards following me like I'm some public figure. Madame Rosaline reached for her hands. Please, she begged quietly. Let me give you private security. Just 2 men, discreet. Emily hesitated. Then she shook her head slowly. Not yet, she said. Let me breathe, Mum. I promise I'll be careful. Madame Rosaline's eyes filled with worry. But she forced herself to nod. Okay, she whispered. But if anything happens, nothing will happen, Emily said softly. She didn't know how wrong that was. 2 days later, Emily stayed behind after school for her special training session. Not in the main classroom. In a quiet hall behind the admin building, a woman sent by the Queen Mother taught her etiquette. How to greet properly. How to stand. How to enter a room without shrinking. Emily was tired by the time the session ended, but she felt stronger too. The instructor smiled at her. You're improving, she said warmly. Emily nodded. Thank you. She stepped outside. The afternoon sun was fading. The school compound was quieter now. Most students had already left. Emily walked toward where she parked her bicycle, adjusting her bag on her shoulder. She didn't see the car until it was too close. A dark vehicle rolled up slowly behind her. She turned, confused. The back door opened. Before Emily could step away, a hand covered her mouth. A cloth pressed against her face. She struggled. Hard. But the grip was strong. Her feet kicked the ground, and for a second, her nails scraped someone's arm. Then her body went weak. Her vision blurred, and the world went dark. When Emily opened her eyes again, the first thing she noticed was the smell. Dust. Metal. Oil. Old cement. Her head throbbed. Her wrists hurt. She tried to move and realized her hands were tied behind her back. Her ankles were tied too. She was sitting on a chair in a dim warehouse. A single bulb hung above, swinging slightly. Emily's breath came faster. She tested the ropes again. Tight. Then she heard footsteps. Slow. Deliberate.
Someone stepped into the light, and Emily's stomach dropped. Sophia. Sophia walked forward like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. Her face looked different. Not the polished Gracefield queen. This Sophia looked raw, desperate, angry. Her eyes were wild, but determined. Emily stared at her shocked. "Sophia," she whispered, "what is this?" Sophia laughed, short and bitter. "Oh, now you can say my name," she said. Emily's heart pounded. "Are you behind this?" Sophia stepped closer, her voice rising. "Of course I'm behind it," she snapped. "Do you think all of this happened by magic?" Emily swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. "Sophia, this is a crime," she said steadily. "My mother will find me. The Queen Mother will find me. You—" Sophia slammed her hand against the chair, making Emily flinch. "Shut up!" Sophia shouted. Her chest rose and fell violently. Then she pointed at Emily like she hated the sight of her. "You had everything," Sophia said, her voice shaking. "Everything." Emily blinked, confused by the pain in her voice. Sophia continued, words pouring out like poison. "You came in with your calm face and your kind smile, acting like you don't even know you're better than people. Acting like you don't even care. But you do. You enjoy it." Emily's eyes stayed on her. Sophia's voice cracked. "I had nothing," she whispered. "Nothing. Do you know what it means to watch people respect you only because they think you're rich? Do you know what it means to build a life with lies because the truth is too ugly?" Emily's throat tightened. Sophia stepped even closer, her eyes shining with tears she refused to let fall. "I worked for my respect," she said. "I fought for it. And you were born into wealth, born into a crown, born into love." Emily swallowed, her voice soft. "Sophia, you didn't have to do this." Sophia's lips curled. "Oh yes, I did," she said coldly. "Because you took everything from me." Emily's heart pounded harder. She looked around the warehouse, searching for any sign of help, any sign of an exit. Then she looked back at Sophia and said quietly but firmly, "You think this will fix you, but it won't." Sophia's face tightened, and somewhere in the shadows behind her, a figure moved. Tari stepped forward, half hidden in darkness, watching Emily like she was an object. Emily's stomach turned. Sophia smiled slowly, cruelly now. "Let's see if your grace can save you in here," she whispered. And the warehouse door creaked shut behind them. Emily's heart was pounding so loudly she could almost hear it in her ears. Sophia stood in front of her like a storm that had finally found a place to land. Tari stayed a few steps back, half in the shadows, watching quietly. Emily's wrists were burning from the rope. Her throat was dry, but she forced herself to stay calm. Sophia leaned closer, her voice low and sharp. "You still look calm," she said, almost offended by it. "Even tied up, you still look like you have peace." Emily didn't answer. Sophia turned suddenly and faced Tari. "Do it," she said. Tari blinked. "Do what?" Sophia's eyes were wild. "Ruin her," she snapped. "Take what makes her special. Take her innocence. Let her remember this for the rest of her life." Emily's body went cold. Her stomach twisted. Tari's face changed immediately. He stepped back. "Sophia," he said, voice tense. "That's not what we planned." Sophia's laugh was bitter and shaky. "You think money is enough?" she said. "You think ransom is enough?" Emily swallowed hard. Tari shook his head quickly. "No, I'm not doing that." Sophia spun on him, furious. "You coward!" Tari's voice rose too, but it sounded scared now. "This is madness. This is not a prank. This is not even just kidnapping again. This is evil." Sophia took a step toward him. "I brought you here because I thought you were a man," she hissed. Tari stared at her, conflicted. Then he looked at Emily, tied up, silent, breathing steadily but with fear in her eyes now. His face tightened. "I'm not touching her," he said firmly. "I won't." Sophia's chest rose and fell. She looked like she wanted to scream. Then she turned back to Emily, her voice shaking with rage. "You see?" she snapped. "Even criminals can pity you.
Even they can still see you like you're some precious thing.
Emily's voice came out soft. Sophia, please stop. Sophia's eyes filled with tears as she refused to drop. Stop? She repeated. You want me to stop when my whole life has collapsed? Emily's breathing was unsteady now, but she forced her voice to stay calm. You're hurting yourself more, she said. This won't fix anything. Sophia stared at her like she hated her kindness most of all. Then she pointed at Tari again, shaking. If you won't do it, she said coldly, then just stand there and watch.
Emily's eyes widened. Sophia? Sophia reached into her bag and pulled out a small blade. Not large, not dramatic, but sharp enough to make Emily's throat tighten. Tari's voice turned urgent. Sophia, don't be stupid. Sophia's hand trembled as she walked closer to Emily. I want you to beg, she whispered. Just once. I want you to look at me the way I looked at you, like you are the only one with power. Emily's eyes were wet now, but she didn't beg. She only said, voice shaking, someone will come. Sophia laughed. No one is coming. But at that same moment, outside the warehouse, a car engine slowed. Then another. Then quiet footsteps. Sophia froze. Tari's head snapped toward the door. Emily held her breath. A voice came from outside, firm and familiar. Emily. Sophia's face drained. Emily's eyes widened. Alex, she whispered. The warehouse door burst open. Light flooded the space, and Alex stepped in, flanked by 2 large security men. His face was hard with anger, but his eyes were full of panic. Sophia took a step back instinctively. Tari's hands went up immediately. I didn't touch her, he blurted. I swear. Alex didn't even look at him. His eyes went straight to Emily. She was tied up. Her face was pale. Her lips were trembling. Alex's chest rose sharply. Untie her, he ordered. The security men moved fast. One went straight to Emily, carefully cutting the ropes, while the other stepped forward to block Sophia. Sophia's hands shook. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Alex walked toward her, breathing heavily. Sophia, he said, voice low and dangerous. What have you done? Sophia's eyes darted around like she was trapped. She ruined me, she snapped, pointing at Emily like she was pointing at the problem in her life. She ruined everything. Alex's jaw tightened. No, he said. You ruined yourself. Emily's hands were free now. She tried to stand, but her legs wobbled. Alex rushed to her immediately, steadying her. Easy, he said gently. I've got you. Emily's breath, brokey, and tears spilled silently down her cheeks. Not loud, not dramatic, just relief and fear finally finding their way out. How did you find me? She whispered. Alex swallowed. You didn't answer your calls. Zara said you never left school like normal. And Sophia was too quiet. His eyes hardened. Sophia is never quiet unless she's planning something. Sophia heard that and flinched. Outside, sirens began to rise in the distance. Sophia's head snapped toward the sound. What is that? She whispered. Alex didn't blink. The police. Sophia's eyes widened. No, Alex, please. 2 officers stepped in moments later, followed by more. The warehouse filled quickly. One of the officers pointed at Sophia and Tari. Hands where we can see them. Sophia's body trembled as they moved toward her. This isn't fair, she cried suddenly. This isn't fair! The officer grabbed her wrist. Sophia looked at Emily, her eyes blazing with pain. And for a second her voice changed, less evil, more broken. I just wanted to be seen, she whispered. Emily stared at her, breathing hard. Sophia's lips trembled. Then she repeated, almost like a confession. I just wanted to matter. The police led her away. Tari, too, still protesting his innocence, still shaking. As Sophia passed the doorway, she looked back one last time. Her face was wet now. Not with pride, with regret. Then she was gone. Emily didn't return to Gracefield the next day. She stayed home, resting. Her mother barely left her side. Madame Rosaline held her the way she used to hold her when Emily was small, like she could shield her from the world with her arms. When the Queen Mother came to see Emily, the entire house went quiet. Emily expected a lecture, a speech about duty, a reminder about crowns, but the Queen Mother sat beside her bed and simply looked at her. "You were brave," she said. Emily's eyes filled. "I was scared." The Queen Mother nodded. "Brave people are always scared. They just don't let fear control them." Emily swallowed. "I don't know if I can do this royal life." The Queen Mother's gaze softened. "Emily," she said gently, "whether you wear a crown or not, I am proud of you." Emily's throat tightened. The Queen Mother reached into her bag and brought out a small folded paper. "A letter," she said, "from your father. I wanted to wait until the right time." Emily stared at it with shaking fingers, then held it close to her chest like it was a piece of him. Madame Rosaline turned away quietly to wipe her eyes. A few days later, Gracefield College called a special assembly. Emily didn't want to go at first, but Zara begged her. "Please," Zara said softly on the phone, "you shouldn't hide. You didn't do anything wrong." So Emily went. With her mother. With discreet security this time, far enough not to embarrass her, close enough to protect her. The hall was packed. Students were unusually quiet. Even Vanessa looked nervous. The principal stood on stage, clearing his throat like a man who had lost sleep. "On behalf of Gracefield College," he began, "we want to apologize to Emily Okocha." A wave of murmurs moved through the hall. The principal continued. "We failed her. We allowed bullying to grow, we allowed cruelty to feel normal, and we are ashamed." Emily stood still, calm. The principal turned to the students. "From today," he said firmly, "we are putting measures in place." He listed them clearly. CCTV coverage increased in hallways and corners where bullying happens. Anonymous reporting boxes are in every hostel and corridor. Strict discipline for harassment. Suspension first, expulsion if repeated. Counseling sessions have been made mandatory for students caught bullying. A new student dignity committee with teachers and students involved. The hall stayed quiet. Then the principal turned back to Emily. "We ask for your forgiveness," he said. Emily's heart was tight, but she remembered something her mother always told her. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay, it's choosing not to carry the poison. Emily nodded slowly. "I forgive you," she said. The room exhaled. Some students looked down. Some looked shocked. Vanessa's eyes watered slightly. After the assembly, a few students even approached Emily quietly. Not boldly, not proudly, but with shame. "I'm sorry," one girl whispered. Emily nodded. "It's okay." But her eyes said something else too. "Don't do it again." That evening, Emily returned home and found an envelope on her bed. It was plain. No fancy design. Just her name written carefully. Emily opened it, and the moment she saw the handwriting, her chest tightened. It was Mrs. Obi. Emily sat down slowly and began to read. "My dear Emily, I don't know if you will ever forgive me, but I need to say this. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I raised Sophia with love, but I also raised her with fear. Fear of poverty, fear of shame, fear of being invisible. I begged for her to enter Gracefield because I wanted her life to be better than mine. But I did not know that in trying to become somebody, my daughter would hurt people to feel important. When I saw you tied up, I felt like my soul left my body. I realized that I had been watching my daughter fall, and I kept quiet for too long. I am sorry for every insult she threw at you. I am sorry for the lies. I am sorry for the pain. If you ever choose to forgive, thank you. If you don't, I understand. Please know this. You are a good girl, and you did not deserve any of it. Mrs. Obi." Emily's hands trembled slightly as she lowered the paper. Her eyes were wet again, not because she felt weak, but because she finally understood something clearly. Sophia did not become a monster overnight. She became one slowly, through insecurity, lies, and the desperate need to matter. Emily closed the letter and held it to her chest. Then she exhaled slowly and whispered to herself, "This is why this has to stop with me." And somewhere deep inside her, the girl who wanted a normal life began to understand what the Queen Mother meant about duty. Not a duty as pressure, but duty as purpose. Because if Emily could stand tall after everything, maybe she could help other girls stand too. And for the first time, the idea of the Unity Coronation Ball didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a doorway, a choice. A new chapter is waiting. After the letter from Mrs. Obi, Emily did not sleep easily. Not because she was afraid of Sophia anymore. Sophia was gone now, and the world had finally seen her for who she was. Emily couldn't sleep because her mind would not rest. Everything that had happened at Gracefield had changed something inside her. She had walked into that school trying to be invisible. Now, invisibility was no longer an option. The next few days passed quietly, but the house felt busy. Tailors came in and out. Stylists arrived with garment bags. The Queen Mother's assistants moved like shadows, speaking in soft voices and checking lists. Because the Unity Ball was coming. And the Unity Ball was not just a party. It was a moment. A line in the sand. A decision that would follow Emily for the rest of her life. One evening, Emily stood in front of her mirror, wearing a simple top and trousers, her hair tied back. Madame Rosaline entered the room and sat on the bed quietly. Emily glanced at her through the mirror. "Mum," she said softly, "what if I'm not ready?" Madame Rosaline's eyes softened. "You don't need to feel ready," she replied. "You just need to be honest." Emily sighed. "I still want a normal life." Madame Rosaline nodded. "And you can still have parts of it. But Emily, being royal doesn't mean you stop being human." Emily's lips trembled slightly. "I'm scared of making the wrong choice." Madame Rosaline stood up and came behind her, resting her hands on Emily's shoulders. "My love," she said gently, "whatever you choose it because it's yours, not because of fear, not because of pressure." Emily's throat tightened. Madame Rosaline leaned down and kissed her head. "You have already survived what would break some people," she whispered. "This decision will not break you. It will reveal you." Emily closed her eyes for a moment, then nodded slowly. The day of the Unity Ball arrived like a storm wrapped in gold. The venue was breathtaking, an enormous hall with tall pillars, glittering chandeliers, and a long red carpet that looked like it stretched into history. Royal guards stood at attention. Traditional drummers played softly outside. Inside, important people sat in rows. Chiefs, dignitaries, politicians, international guests, and noble families from the kingdom of Arenze. Emily stood in a private room behind the hall with her mother and the Queen Mother. She wore a gown that was elegant, not loud, classy, royal, and undeniably her. Her hair was neatly styled back, her face calm, her posture refined. She looked like the kind of girl people would follow without question. But inside, her heart was beating hard. The Queen Mother approached her and held her hands. "Emily," she said, her voice steady, "you are allowed to say no." Emily nodded. The Queen Mother continued, "And you are allowed to say yes." Emily swallowed. "I don't want to lose myself." The Queen Mother looked at her closely. "Then do not," she said simply. "A crown is not meant to swallow you. It is meant to sit on the head of someone who already knows who they are." Emily exhaled slowly. Then the doors opened. A staff member bowed. "It is time," he said. Emily's legs felt heavy, but she stepped forward anyway. The hall fell silent as she walked in. People stood. Some whispered. Some looked emotional. Some looked curious. Emily walked slowly, not rushing, just like she had been taught. At the front of the hall, a microphone waited. And in that moment, everything felt like it slowed down. Emily saw the faces of the people watching her. She saw her mother's eyes shining with tears. She saw the Queen Mother's calm, proud expression. And she remembered Gracefield. The laughter. The towel prank. The bullying. The warehouse. Sophia's trembling voice. "I just wanted to be seen. Emily reached the microphone and stood still. For a second, she felt like the shy girl from the first days at Gracefield again. Then she lifted her chin, and her voice came out steady. "Good evening," she began. The hall stayed quiet. Emily took a breath. "I know some people think they already know my story," she continued. "Some people have called me a poor girl. Some have called me a billionaire's daughter. Some have called me a princess." She paused, letting the words settle. "But the truth is, I am not who you thought I was." A ripple moved through the crowd. Emily's eyes stayed forward. "I am more." Her voice grew stronger. "I am a girl who wanted to live quietly. A girl who wanted to ride a bicycle to school and just be normal. I did not come looking for attention. I did not come looking for a crown." She swallowed, her heart tightening, but she did not break. "But life did not ask me what I wanted before it tested me," Emily said. "It tested me in school. It tested me in public. It tested me in pain." Some people in the crowd looked visibly moved. Emily continued, her voice firm. "And I learned something." She looked toward her mother briefly and then back at the crowd. "I learned that people will judge what they don't understand. They will mock what they fear. They will try to break what shines quietly." She paused again. "And I learned that the strongest thing you can do is stand." Her voice softened slightly. "So today I am not accepting this crown because I want power." A hush. "I am accepting it because I understand responsibility." Emily's eyes glistened. "And I am accepting it on my own terms." She lifted her head higher. "I will serve. I will lead with compassion. I will protect those who are unseen because I know what it feels like to be mocked and misunderstood." Her voice became clear, sharp, and undeniable. "And I will never forget that before I am royalty. I am human." The hall erupted. Applause. Loud, thunderous applause. People stood again. Some were clapping with tears in their eyes. Emily stepped back slightly. Then the ceremonial moment came. The Queen Mother stood and placed the crown gently on Emily's head. It wasn't heavy, but it carried weight. And Emily felt it, not as pressure, as a purpose. When it was done, Madame Rosaline rushed forward and held her daughter tightly. Emily's mother was crying openly now. "My baby," she whispered. "You did it." Emily closed her eyes, holding her mother back. "No," she whispered. "We did." After the coronation, the next few days felt unreal. News headlines, interviews, visitors. But Emily refused to lose herself in it. And when she returned to Gracefield College, the school looked the same, but the way people looked at her had changed. Students stopped talking when she walked past. Some still whispered, because people always whisper. But most didn't whisper with disrespect anymore. They whispered with awe, with caution, with a kind of respect that felt almost too late. Emily walked through the gate calmly, wearing a plain school outfit like before. Still simple, still neat, still Emily. But now, her presence was different. Like the air moved differently around her. Zara rushed to her immediately. "Emily," she cried, hugging her tightly. Emily hugged her back, smiling. "You're crushing me," she teased softly. Zara laughed nervously. "I can't believe you're actually, a princess." Emily sighed playfully. "Please don't start calling me Your Highness in school, I beg." Zara giggled. "Okay, but it's hard." As they walked together, students watched. And something strange happened. For the first time in her life, Zara was not invisible. People greeted her. People smiled at her. Girls who used to ignore her now wanted to stand near her. "Hi, Zara." "Zara, you look nice today." Zara looked confused at first, then embarrassed. Emily leaned in and whispered, "See? Fame by association." Zara covered her mouth, laughing quietly. "Emily, stop." But Zara remained Zara, still humble, still nerdy, still kind. She didn't let the attention change her, and Emily loved her even more for that.
At lunch break, Emily saw Alex across the cafeteria. He was standing near the edge like he wasn't sure whether to approach or not. Emily walked toward him calmly. Alex's eyes widened slightly, and he straightened up quickly like a boy who's suddenly forgotten how to act normally. Emily stopped in front of him. "Alex," she said softly. "Emily," he replied, voice low. Emily smiled. "Thank you." Alex blinked. "For what?" "For not ignoring me when everyone else did," Emily said. "For finding me. For saving me." Alex looked away quickly, his ears turning slightly red. I just did what anyone should do," he muttered. Emily raised an eyebrow. "Not everyone would." Alex swallowed. Then he looked back at her, nervous. "I couldn't let anything happen to you," he said quietly. The way he said it was different. Not just friendly. Not just protective. Personal. Emily's smile softened. Alex scratched the back of his neck, suddenly shy. "And I'm glad you're okay," he added. I'm really glad." Emily held his gaze for a moment. Then she said gently, "I'm glad you're in my life, Alex." Alex's eyes widened slightly. That sentence hit him somewhere deep. He nodded, still shy. "Same," he said, almost whispering. Emily smiled again, then turned and walked toward Zara's table. But as she walked away, she could feel Alex still watching her. Not with the eyes of someone impressed by a crown, but with the eyes of someone who had liked her long before the crown ever touched her head. And for the first time in a long time, Emily's heart felt light, because she finally understood. She didn't have to choose between being herself and being royal. She could be both, on her own terms. Emily had been back at Gracefield for days now. People were acting differently. They were careful around her. Teachers smiled too much. Students greeted her like they were greeting a title, not a person. Some girls even tried to accidentally bump into her, just so they could say later, "I talked to her." Emily hated that part. Not because she was ungrateful, but because it felt fake. She didn't want to walk around school like a statue in a museum. She still wanted to be Emily. The girl who rode her bicycle. The girl who liked quiet mornings. The girl who sat with Zara and laughed at silly things like the way Gracefield students walked like they were on a runway. So after the excitement of her return settled, Emily made a choice. No convoy. No flashing sirens. No dramatic entrance. If anyone wanted to respect her, they should respect her character, not her escort. Her mother didn't like it at first. Madame Rosaline stood in the kitchen that morning, watching Emily lace her sneakers. "You're still insisting on this bicycle?" she asked, trying to sound calm. Emily smiled. "Mum, I'm not trying to prove anything. I just want to breathe." Madame Rosaline sighed. "At least let your guards follow at a distance." Emily nodded. "They can, quietly, no drama." So that was how they did it. No public convoy. Just Emily in uniform, pushing her bicycle out of the gate as she had always done. And far behind, 2 discreet security men in a simple car, nothing loud, nothing attention-seeking, just enough to keep her safe. Emily wanted it that way, because the crown had changed her life, but she refused to let it steal her soul. That evening, when Emily returned home, the Queen Mother was waiting. She didn't come with noise or announcement, just a quiet presence, like she carried calm wherever she went. Emily greeted her respectfully and sat. The Queen Mother's eyes studied her for a moment. "You look tired," she said. Emily gave a small laugh. "School is still school, even for a princess." The Queen Mother nodded slowly, then reached into her bag and brought out an envelope. "This," she said, "was written by your father before he died." Emily's breath caught. The room seemed to shrink. Just those words, "your father," could still make her feel like a little girl again. Madame Rosaline's eyes immediately filled with tears, but she stayed quiet. Emily took the envelope with trembling fingers. The paper looked old, like it had been handled and protected for a long time. Her name was on it in careful handwriting. Emily. Emily swallowed hard and opened it slowly. Her hands shook as she unfolded the letter. Then she began to read.
My Emily. If you are reading this, then it means I am not there to hold your hand the way I always wanted to. And I am sorry. I am sorry that life can be unfair. But I want you to remember something. You did not come to this world to live in fear. You did not come to this world to shrink yourself so that other people can feel comfortable. Emily, your light is not too much. Do not dim it. Do not lower your voice. Do not bend your head. Not for anybody. People will call you proud when you simply stand straight. They will call you arrogant when you simply know your worth. Let them talk. You do not owe anyone smallness. I know you, my daughter. I know you are gentle, but you are not weak. And I know you have more courage than I ever had. Because courage is not shouting. Courage is staying kind in a world that tries to harden you. Courage is getting up again after shame. Courage is forgiving, even when you have the power to destroy. Grace is not fancy clothes. Grace is how you carry pain without turning it into bitterness. So if they ever make you feel like you don't belong, stand anyway. Walk anyway. Smile anyway. And remember, I am always proud of you. Even when you are scared. Even when you are confused. Even when you don't feel like a princess. Because before any crown, you are my child. And you are enough. Love always. Your father. Emily couldn't breathe properly by the time she reached the end. Her vision blurred. Her chest tightened like someone was holding her heart. She tried to blink the tears away, but they fell anyway. Quietly at first. Then all at once, Emily covered her mouth as a sob escaped her. She had been holding so much inside, fear, pressure, pain, confusion, trying to be strong for everybody. But the letter broke something open in her. She cried the way you cry when you finally feel safe enough to fall apart. Madame Rosaline rushed to her and held her. "My baby," she whispered, crying too. "My baby." Even the Queen Mother's eyes looked wet, but she didn't speak. She only placed her hand gently on Emily's shoulder like a silent promise. Emily cried until her throat hurt. Then slowly, she calmed. She held the letter to her chest, breathing shakily. And for the first time since her father died, the pain did not feel like a sharp wound. It felt like love. It felt like peace. The next morning, Emily did exactly what she had decided. She wore her Gracefield uniform. No crown. No fancy jewelry. No special treatment. Just her uniform, her neat hair, and her bicycle. She pushed the bicycle through the school gate, not riding it fast, just walking calmly like she owned her space. Students saw her and froze. Whispers rose, but they weren't mocking whispers anymore. They were respectful whispers, like people were suddenly afraid to be cruel. Emily kept walking, and as she entered the main courtyard, something happened that would have shocked Emily from the first week. Students moved aside. Not dramatically, not like a movie, but naturally they could not block her path. It was as if something invisible had shifted. Before, they parted because they didn't want to be associated with Bike Girl. Now they parted because they finally understood. The girl they tried to crush was the kind of girl who could not be crushed. Emily walked through them, pushing her bicycle calmly. She wasn't looking for fear in their eyes. She wasn't enjoying their silence. She just walked like someone who had stopped begging the world to accept her. Zara ran toward her immediately. "You're really doing this again?" Zara whispered, amazed. "The bicycle?" Emily smiled softly. "Yes." Zara grinned. "I love you for this." Emily laughed. "I know." Then Alex appeared, walking toward them. He looked relaxed, but his eyes were warm. And there was something different now. Not just admiration, not just protectiveness. Something deeper. He stopped beside her. "Morning," he said. "Morning," Emily replied. He glanced at the bicycle and smiled slightly. "You're consistent." Emily raised an eyebrow playfully. "Should I start arriving with a convoy?" Alex chuckled. "Please don't. We'll never hear the end of it." Emily laughed, then her face softened. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything." Alex looked down for a moment, almost shy. I didn't do it for thanks, he admitted. Emily tilted her head slightly. Why did you do it then? Alex's throat bobbed as he swallowed. Then he looked at her, direct, honest. Because you're you, he said simply, and I didn't want this world to ruin you. Emily's heart tightened, but in a good way. She nodded slowly. Then she said, almost like she was choosing to trust him aloud, I won't let it. Alex's lips curved into a small smile. Good, he said. They walked into the school building together, Emily pushing her bicycle beside her, Zara chatting nervously, Alex walking close enough to be there but not so close it felt forced. People watched, people whispered. But Emily didn't care. Because she finally understood something her father had tried to tell her even in death. She didn't need to dim her light. Not for bullies. Not for fake friends. Not for a crown. And as she stepped forward into her new life, half student, half heir, fully herself, Emily felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. And hope. Because now, she wasn't just surviving. She was choosing who she wanted to be. And she was no longer afraid to be seen.